Welcome into BSR postgame live on channel BSR. After another thrilling Orioles game, we're here to break down the game. I'm Jake English from the Bird's Eye View podcast, joined tonight by Jabby Burns of the Baltimore Sports Report podcast, as well as Baltimore Sports Today.
Yes.
And our guest, Greg Wisniewski from Blue Jays Plus and the Blue Jays Plus podcast. Greg, thanks for joining us tonight.
Greetings from the Great White North.
Well, we're here to talk about what was an absolutely terrible game for us and an absolutely awesome game for you. It got a little hairy at the end, but as we Orioles fans are accustomed to, it was too little, too late in an even more devastating fashion. Usually what we do at this point is we go ahead and walk through the box score, but frankly, I'm angry at numbers and don't want to do it. So we're going to cut right to the chase and go to our highlights and lowlights from the game. Greg, let's start with you because I feel like you've got a little bit more to go on for this part of the show. What was your highlight of the game?
I would say 5 perfect innings from Drew Hutchison, who had looked really good on opening day and then pretty lousy for 2 starts. And since he's the guy who really needs to kind of step in for the missing Marcus Stroman, we need good starts out of Drew Hutchison. So whether or not the Orioles were helping him out or not, which you've accused them of, I think, in the past, 5 innings of no-hit ball and no walks is really good. So that was nice to see. Nice to see him get into the 8th as well.
Well, I'd like to think that we're homers, but realistic homers. Jabby, Drew Hutchinson and the Orioles, a little bit of history there. He's owned us from time to time, yes?
Yes, and even opening day at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, he pitched pretty well there. I mean, they've had a lot.
I don't remember that one.
You don't remember that one? That was an interesting night. No, the Jays have had our number so far this season. Last year, obviously, clinching against the Jays at home was a big deal, and this team has some history, and I want to get into that with Greg maybe later on here about the history between these two teams and from last year going into this year. But that right now, hey, they got our number right now, Jake. I mean, that's 5 wins in I think we've played 6 games so far. So and they've been dominated performances. And I agree with you, Greg. I think I was very impressed with the fact that Hutchinson was able to kind of put that together because I feel like he's somebody in that staff with Stroman out that they're really going to have to lean on.
Well, Jab, what about you? What is your highlight for this game?
Manny Machado, and I know that's easy to say because he had the 2 bombs, but I feel like he's put together some really good at-bats the last couple days here, hitting the ball the other way, obviously hitting the ball out at the artist formerly known as Skydome, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure, Greg, you and I could hit one out the way the ball's carrying. Greg, I'd like to get into it with you about that as well. That ball, our boy Paredes hit a ball off the end of the bat 2 nights ago that just somehow got over the wall there. Your boy, the second baseman there that you guys have here, hit a ball up into the upper deck center field. Is the ball just crazy carrying there, or what the deal is? But Machado would be my guy.
To answer what the ball is carrying, it is a very strange place because over the course of the season, absolutely, the ball takes off, especially during summer when the dome gets open and the turf gets hot, all that kind of stuff. Every so often there's a game, and it was our opening night, it looked like nothing was ever going to leave. Stuff fell 15 feet short of the wall, and you could tell hitters on both teams were standing there going, really? I didn't get all of that? What do I got to do? And then about 3 nights later, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, no, this is the same old Skydome. This is the same old, well, Rogers Center. I still like Skydome. Who doesn't?
Yep.
And, yeah, the ball flies out of that place. It still takes some muscles and that to do what Edwin Encarnacion did last night and put it in the 5th deck.
Yep.
He should have gotten 2 points for that. I mean, I'm telling you. They should have awarded multiple runs for a single swing. It was impressive.
And Jake, as annoying as sometimes some of the antics are by people, I'm okay with Encarnacion putting the guy on the parrot on his arm. I think that's great, by the way. That's something that's scripted, something he does all the time. That doesn't bother me at all. He gets to third base, he throws the high five, takes the parrot down. I think that's hilarious. The rest of the antics that go on there, that's a whole other thing, Greg, we can get into. But for now, your Blue Jays have done the work. The kid I was talking about was a kid Travis, the second baseman, which I'm really impressed with. I mean, the guy's shown a lot of power, and if the ball continues to move the way you said it was, earlier in the season, but also now, I feel like your Blue Jays are going to be in good shape. The question is, can they keep it up with the pitching?
They haven't really even had the pitching Like it's. I know you guys are looking at a starting rotation that's kind of on the rocks yourselves, but
Yeah.
Other than Mark Burley,
There's no kind of about that. Please continue.
I'm way too nice apparently. You're horrible. Okay, that's the way it goes.
That's the way it is.
But other than Mark Burley getting into the 6th inning with some regularity, we've watched a couple real flameouts already. So it's the pitching even round into shape, and then the bullpen has been garbage, hot garbage.
The one guy, though, real quick, Jake, the guy I was going to sneak in on is Sanchez. I mean, he walked 7 guys. We couldn't do anything with 7 walks for the kid who, by the way, the ball comes out of his hands, it explodes out of his hands. I like that. I'm more of a Norris guy out of those 2 guys there. But, with Sanchez, is he the kind of guy that you guys really need to kind of step up to kind of make that next step based on, with Stroman being out and things of that nature?
I think Sanchez really only needs to perform like you would expect most of your 5th starters to perform. He could certainly do better than that, but you're going to get the mess you got the other night, and you're going to get what you got from him in Baltimore, which was just ridiculous. He came out all amped up, trying to control himself and throwing 92 miles an hour, and the kid throws 95. It's like,
right.
And he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn in Baltimore. It was like, and then, I don't know, last night, I missed the part of the game, thankfully, where he walked the first 5. And then when I watched him, he was making Travis Snyder look stupid. And then all of a sudden he started walking people again. It's like, oh, that's how it's going to go. Okay.
Which is strange because it's usually Travis Snyder that makes himself look stupid in the field, which is, a different thing for us. Okay, so those are the highlights.
You're taking some shots, Jake.
It was a fun night of Orioles baseball here in the English household. Let's talk about some of the lowlights. Greg, I know your team came out on top, and it wasn't as close as the score indicated, but was there anything from your side of things that you looked at and you did not enjoy seeing so much?
I don't like seeing the bullpen do what the bullpen do, I guess. I mean, Liam Hendricks comes in, gets 1 out, and then Castro, who is the closer in name, I don't really put a lot of stock in.
A lot of air quotes in that one.
Well, they used to... old saying, he's a proven closer. Yes, he's entered the game, and since then it's proven closer. It's that's the Kevin Gregg proven closer.
We
you remember him, don't you?
Oh, we do.
But Miguel Castro comes in and he gives up a bomb. To all respect, Manny Machado is a great hitter, but that's not confidence inspiring because he had 4 runs to play with. So we burned 2 relievers to get 3 outs and gave up 3 runs. There's been a lot of that. Even in garbage time.
All right, fair enough. I'll take it. Looking up from here. All right, Gabby, from you, what was your low light of the game?
Oh, where shall I start? It would be my boy, and I'm a big Chris Tillman guy, but something's wrong with Chris. I don't know if it's an injury. I don't know what it is, but the velocity's been down. The Blue Jays have owned him the last 2 starts he's come out, and the big thing for me with him, Jake, is walks. This team alone got to stop walking people. That would be my number 1. The number 2 thing for me, Jake, I'm going to go a little bonus round here when it comes to lowlights from tonight. Ooh. Can we talk about 2 things? Fundamental baseball. That's something that this Oriole team was built on with Buck Showalter.
We can talk about it.
Okay, I'm going to point out just one spot. And again, you and I had some good times on a little old direct message earlier today about our boy David Lowe. But here's a perfect example. There's a guy on first, and he's off to third. He's already at third base basically when Lowe gets the ball. And what does he do? He makes a throw that, number 1, Cabrera maybe should have cut off, but he didn't. And the problem is the ball shouldn't even have been there. What happens is the runner gets to second base, next guy up gets a base hit, 2 more runs scored because of the fact. That's situational baseball. And I don't want to go into this because I'm a Little League coach. Listen, I'm not Buck Showalter, but I know you hit the right bases, Greg. You know that as well as anybody as well. So that's the kind of things that are really bothering me, Jake, about this team. It's the base running. Last night with Diaza trying to steal third base for no reason. The ROI, the return on investment on that is like 2%. I mean, you got 2 outs. This is just absurd. So those are the kind of things that really bother me. And if it bothers me, you can imagine what our skipper's going through.
Well, David Lowe is this is his second start, and you got to think that not hitting the cutoff man, throwing to the wrong bag, is basically him screaming, "Buck, I don't want to play anymore. Playing time is not something I'm interested in."
White flag, white flag. Do you guys need a bad outfielder that can get a little bit of speed, that gets on base once every month, Greg?
He's named. We have a good outfielder who gets on base once every month. Is that guy?
Who is it? Because we could maybe trade you the GM too. We could get you a whole deal package together.
We already got a package deal coming up for the team president and everything. We got that all worked out. Coming up 2016, guys. Don't worry about that.
We appreciate that.
We only want Hoffman, so no big deal.
Yeah, I can't imagine why they balked at that.
hey, we're not asking too much. We're asking way too much. My low light for this game is something that I thought we were done with now that the Orioles are not an embarrassment to the league, which is basically unwatchable baseball for long stretches of time. Game was over before it started. In the fourth inning, you knew how the game was gonna end, and that was a staple of 2010 Orioles baseball.
Yeah.
The magic was real, and it's early here in April. It's 4 straight losses for the Birds. For the Orioles, and they're clearly not going to be this bad forever. But when you watch 4 straight losses, if they're close, all right, that's 4 losses in the early season. But the team has looked awful, and they've been blowouts. They climbed back to within a run in this particular game, but it was all over but the shouting by the 4th inning, and we've seen way too much of that here in April. So that's my low light was defeatism taking over before the game even started. Let's talk about the offense. Again, I feel like this subject may be a little one-sided, but what do we want to start with? Let's talk about Chris Davis. Greg, before we started, you and I were talking about the wonder that is Chris Davis in this particular season. How interesting is it as an opponent to watch a guy who instilled that much fear in the rest of the league in 2013 basically be a shadow of himself?
It is my worst fear realized, because when Jose Bautista blew up the league with 54 home runs, this is exactly what everybody was afraid of the next year was, somebody's going to figure him out, or he's going to forget whatever he figured out, and then we're going to have given, and the Jays gave a 5-year contract to Jose Bautista at that first offseason before we knew if he really knew what he was doing. So I feel for you, because there is nothing worse than knowing there's the potential, and what the heck happened. So yeah, watching that, back to Chris Davis, we call strikeouts from Chris Davis gimmies.
Yeah.
And we're back there.
Yeah. Well, you got 4 of them. Pull out the sombrero. Javi Burns.
You guys need to get Mark Reynolds back.
Oh.
He was a wonderful.
Trust me, I'd kill for Mark Reynolds right now at this point. Here's the deal with Chris, too. 52 at-bats, Jake, 23 strikeouts. I don't do a lot of math. Listen, I'm not a math guy. You said there was no math on this show here tonight. So
Scotty's got the night off.
Yeah, well, he's killing me in DraftKings, by the way. Another plug for them, by the way. I just don't understand. Is he up there? You know how you guys go up with an approach? A lot of guys want to go up with an idea what they're doing. Jake, what is his idea that he's trying to do when he goes to the plate? Do you think he has any idea?
Oh God, please don't strike out this time. Oh God, please don't strike out this time. Oh God, please.
It does look like he's guessing, right? I mean, that's basically what I'm getting at. You can't be a major leaguer guessing.
I think it's worse than that, because I think when he's getting the pitch that he's expecting, he's not executing. Yeah. I think the problem is that when he's expecting the fastball, he's not hitting it. And when he's expecting the breaking ball, he's not hitting it.
And just fouling it off, even though. That's the problem. He's either fouling it off, and then do you love the body language too? Like, I guess this is video. It's like this. Oh, God. And it's the drop shoulders. It's just the body language. And at that point, I know you're dead. And as a pitcher out on the mound there, I know he's dead. Because I can throw him anything in the dirt. I can throw him anything, actually, a fastball up, anything like that. They've worked his way in. Greg, have you noticed that a lot of the pitchers, whether it's the Blue Jays or other teams, I know you're not watching the Orioles on a daily basis, but they've worked his way. They found a way to work him in, working him in, out. And with Chris, that's what it is. And when he ties up and he can't do anything with his hands, get him extended. You know that with power hitters that you guys have on your team. The same situation happens. Is that something that you think that the Blue Jays, let alone other teams that the Orioles are going to face going forward, are going to key on?
Well, absolutely. I think that obviously the book is out on Chris Davis. I mean, 1 year and a new prescription for Adderall is not the fix for all of his problems.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel it absolutely. I am looking at the box score right now, and there's a couple things in the box score you don't want to even think about.
I skipped it for a reason.
I got it right here. Talk to me.
They got, first of all, they got more walks than hits from your pitching staff. Thank you. 8-7. Second of all, Jose Reyes and Edwin Encarnacion did not reach base, and they scored 7 runs.
Yeah. And Encarnacion struck out 3 times. To be honest with you, didn't look really that great against the 3 pitchers that I think he faced.
He is a very good hitter on the overall, but he is a guy who will go absolutely ice cold. And everybody last year looks at his season, and the final numbers look great. Essentially, it was May, and then he got hurt early, or late in the season, and he didn't really have much of an impact in any other month. The guy you actually have to be afraid of is the one who was on the bench tonight. Oh, yeah, you also got beat without Jose Bautista in the lineup.
Yeah. He's got a sore shoulder.
Because he's an idiot.
well, that grudge he was carrying is very heavy. Shoulder just couldn't take it.
Well played, Jake. Well played. Hey, listen, I got some positive things here too that we're pounding on our squad here right now, Jake, and it's obviously early in April, and the Blue Jays will fade as they normally do. The thing I'm going to say here though is Brad Brock. I'm very excited to see him come in. I know it's our boy Zach's boy, but he comes in 4 strikeouts, and I understand the Jays are going to strike out. As Greg pointed out, this team's a kind of a feast or famine type thing. They're almost kind of like the Orioles in that they're going to hit a lot of home runs. I think the Orioles and the Jays both will lead the league, or at least the AL, in home runs this year. But to have 4 strikeouts, the way the ball's moving, Brock's come back and had some good outings after kind of struggling early. So it's good to see that. Additionally, it's also good to see Britton pitch for the first time in 10 days. And now I understand it's not a safe situation, but you got to get your closer in the game. I'm glad Buck was able to do that.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Manny Machado. Great to see Manny Machado doing well. I mean, the thing is that regardless of the loss, Manny Machado with 2 home runs, he's playing defense like we were expecting him to play. He didn't pull off the miracle throw from third tonight, which we're used to seeing. I was wondering if something was wrong with him. But after the last 2 seasons and the way that his career has started off, I got to be honest, watching games like tonight, it's just so good to see because he can really be a special player in the league. And the last note I had offensively from the Orioles was I was about ready to say that it was official that Adam Jones's hot streak was over, and then he got active late in the game. And it was a lost effort tonight. There wasn't a whole lot going, but I got to be honest, for those like 6 or 7 guys yelling at him all night, the only time they were quiet was that top of the 7th when he got the double. So, at least they got their money's worth for him, right?
Yeah. Greg, I'll jump in real quick here on Adam. I'm just going to say this. Adam, he's going to take a lot of that brunt, Jake, the rest of the year because he wants that. And I think on the other side, I think that's Batista's maybe the leader on the other side, and Greg will talk to that better than I can. But I feel like if you put yourself out there talking about, picking up your guys, being our guys, this is my team, people are going to go out and they're going to give it to you just like we give it to the opposing players. Right, Greg?
Oh, for sure. And I'm sure his true talent level is right around 424, like he said. I'm sure all those other seasons were an illusion. As far as leadership on the Jays, they did a lot in the offseason, and it appears their target was clubhouse culture as much as it was on the field performance. It was huge of them to sign Russell Martin, huge of them to get Josh Donaldson in trade and get rid of Brett Laurie and let Adam Lynn slip away for the peanuts that was Marco Estrada. That was all very, very pointedly
calculated.
About who was going to be there off the field. And Donaldson already has a very good reputation for walking into camp and being open to see and talk to everybody, which I was surprised about. He totally tried to join in with the team, which I think is really important because I think this team has had a lot of guys who just sit and stew on the bench when they're not doing well in the past, and that's been a problem.
Well, we've danced around it a little bit. Let's talk about Adam Jones and let's talk about Jose Bautista. I think the real shame of this situation is this: Adam Jones is a heck of a guy. He's a nice guy. He's a good ball player. He's a good face of the franchise. He's good in the community. It's kind of a shame that this incident has a portion of the Toronto fan base after him. And I'll bet you, and I'll let you speak to this, Greg, I'll bet you that Jose Bautista isn't a bad guy. He's kind of funky on the Twitters, but I'll bet you he's a good guy to root for, is he not?
He is. He does not suffer fools gladly. That's the thing with Bautista. It's just there was a sports writer who accused Bautista of using a media person to follow the 100,000 people that he followed and to tweet out some of the things he tweeted. Oh, it's just a media whatever. And this guy called Bautista out for it, and Bautista responded. It was the offseason. He's like, no, this is me.
Yeah.
And then the follow-up tweet was, oh, well, he's never going to respond. See this, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, fun. Who are you and why are you talking to me?
Right.
It was just totally dismissive of the 20 years of sports broadcasting, right? He's like, you loser. I think that's, and his comments about umpires a couple of years ago were, I don't want to be penalized for somebody else's mediocrity. He is very, very focused on his job, and he does come off as very selfish at times. I totally see that, but he's also an awesome baseball player. So that's at the very least why you root for him, because he does put his money where his mouth is, even after you throw behind him or whatever else. That's what people are blown away by when we talk about it. He was enraged. He thought they were trying to hit him. Whether they were trying to hit him or not, I don't know. That's up for debate, right? But he was absolutely livid that they would do that, and then he hit a home run. Now, how many players in baseball can be that angry and that focused at the same time? I have no idea.
That's pretty amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you: do you think that the reaction after he hit his home run is anything to do with why he's a guy that gets hit in this league a lot?
My thinking is, if he gets hit a lot and then he hits home runs a lot right afterwards,
why would you
keep hitting?
That's a good question. The thing that's also disappointing about this situation, Greg, is that the Orioles and the Blue Jays collectively have been pretty terrible for a long time, and to see both of these clubs on the rebound, so to speak, to see them resurgent and relevant and mattering in the AL East, while we can all agree that for at least a while there it looked like the Yankees and Red Sox weren't going to be as relevant, I think that's the kind of thing that both fan bases should be rooting for. I think that a competitive AL East with the Orioles and the Blue Jays charging and leading the way is all that we wanted through 14 years of losing here in Baltimore, and God knows how long you guys have been suffering for whatever you've been suffering through. So while all this goes on, and while this series got hot, and while the social media ran into it, I am most encouraged by good baseball coming out of Toronto and Baltimore, and I hope that we get a lot more of it, and I hope we get a lot more good, clean games like we got tonight.
So to paraphrase that would be F the Yankees?
more F the Red Sox from me, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. That'll do.
Yeah, they're more annoying than the Yankees. Yankees are almost irrelevant at this point when they throw that lineup out day to day the way they're doing it. But they're winning games. But, hey, real quick, going back to the Batista thing, listen, I agree. Batista's an emotional player. He's the leader of that team. But I think with something you pointed out, Greg, I think is huge. And with Duquette making moves for you guys, I think bringing in Russell Martin, I think no. I do think
that would be some pretty long puppet strings, man.
Listen, his arms are very long.
He's already got Valencia over there.
I know, Danny V, who's hitting. I just looked at it. Danny V hitting against any left-hander that comes out there. Danny V will be in the lineup. He's hitting a good, cool 550, 538. That'll definitely hold up. No, I was just gonna say I think Donaldson is as annoying as maybe he is sometimes in his antics. I think he's a perfect guy for them. I think he's a second, if not him and Manny are the two best defensive, if not offensive as well, third baseman in the American League. I think they're both great players. Have a lot of respect for him on the field, the way he plays the game. There's some guys in that team that kind of rub me the wrong way, but I have to be honest with you. It's kind of nice to see another team outside, like you said, the Yankees and the Red Sox having these games, these marathon dumb games on ESPN late at night. I want to see some other teams in this division. The Rays don't do anything for me. I enjoy this healthy rivalry with the Blue Jays, and I'm looking forward to it. You guys got the first 5 or 6 so far. We'll see what happens going forward, but I think it's going to be definitely something. You guys aren't going to fade. I don't think there's going to be a lot of fading from either one of these teams, especially in a division that I think is pretty mediocre.
I would just like to add that I don't have a problem with a heated relationship. I think guys jawing at one another and everything. Yeah. It's fun to watch and everything else. I don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Right.
I don't want to see somebody run out to the mound because they're angry and then somebody punches somebody else and sprains an ankle because they're all in a big pile because they don't know how to fight because they're baseball players.
And suspensions, yeah.
Yeah, and you lose a player for 5 games or 8 games or whatever the suspension ends up being after they appeal it and go through the whole stupid process. All of that is very negative to me, very distracting. So I am, as much as that was kind of embarrassing to have that all happen on the field in a way, the fact that nobody ended up coming to blows, I'm very happy about because nobody got hit, nobody got hurt. I would really rather they keep it that way going forward.
Yeah, I thought the second game of this series was big because everybody did put on their big boy pants and control themselves, and whether or not that was coaching, whether or not that was the players getting the grip, whether it was just one bad night that got ugly, what have you. Jab. I don't know how you feel, but it was a big sigh of relief, even though we didn't get the win. That things didn't get worse.
I just feel like, and I was talking to our boy Zach about this earlier, doesn't it feel like this April in all of baseball has been just, everybody's just a little grumpy? I mean, all around baseball, there's a lot of like throwing behind people. This is only April. We haven't hit dog days or anything like that. But I will tell you this, Greg, the guy that you saw throw behind Batista, I promise you, had no idea what he's doing. He shouldn't even be in the GD League at this point. Should be playing in A-ball. So I just to let you know, if you talk to Batista tonight, you and him get kind of
we're tight. He follows me on Twitter.
That's it. I just promise you, I don't think that kid had any idea what he's doing, so we probably won't have to worry about him as soon as he gets off the roster. So you won't have to worry about that again. I'm not saying that O'Day might not, come up in and tight on Batista, but I think going forward we'll have a nice friendly rivalry throughout the summer, and it's good to see. Like I said, I enjoy good baseball, and I enjoy, as long as you keep it between the lines, I'm good with that.
Cool. At least the guy that actually does throw it at Bautista is a self-proclaimed guy who throws like a girl. So if you're gonna have
there's a chance.
That's the way you want it to happen.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we've slowly wound our way through the pitching. Ours was terrible until you got to Brock. Yours was fantastic until the starter left. Last thing with Hutchinson, I mean, I think you said it all, but the efficiency was disgusting. I stopped keeping track after a while, but 5 pitches through the first. He pitched 12 in the second, 11 in the third, 13 in the fourth, 15 in the fifth. And again, whether or not the Orioles were helping him or not, I mean, that's exactly what you want out of a starter. So that guy can be lethal. And thanks for ruining my night, Hutchinson. I
think Tillman ruined your night, buddy.
With that, let's go ahead and do the bottom line takeaway. Greg, again, as the guest, what did you see from your Jays in this game, in this series, and what are you looking forward to from here on out?
I am looking forward to the lineup that pounds away on anything that is a mistake. And, I mean, you're going to get beat by good pitchers. I understand that. But more often than not, it's going to be the hitting that bails this team out. And, yeah, it went to work all 3 nights, which was nice, especially first and last game. I'm happy with where they're at. I've never picked this team to win the division, so I'm happy anytime they pop above 500. Obviously, the division is, not there is no runaway this early in April, and I'm perfectly happy with that because I figure you're in within 3 or 4 games at any point in the season. That's what I want to see. And yeah, really excellent to see Hutch actually get 8 innings in.
Great. Jabby Burns, what's your bottom line takeaway from this game?
My first question would be to Greg real quick. What's it like to get a pitcher to go 8 innings, like a starting pitcher? What's that like? I'd have to figure that out. Miguel Gonzalez was our only one so far this year.
Like a fine Cuban cigar.
It takes us 3 games to get our starters collectively to go 8 innings.
No, and that was our quote-unquote ace. Here's my big air quotes for you, Tillman, our ace. I'm saying this. This coming up here, my takeaway is this. If the Orioles don't get it together on, like I said, the fundamentals part, the hitting's going to be there. I think the bullpen's not going to be as bad as it's been. I think the rotation's going to work itself out. I think we have enough pitching. We, being the Orioles, have enough pitching depth to kind of figure it out in the starter. The question is, are you going to make errors that this team normally doesn't do because they're a solid, usually airtight defense? And number 2, are you going to have these base running errors? You're not good enough yet to all of a sudden just take away runs. This team, all they do is hit home runs, and I'm talking about the Orioles. So if you get guys in scoring position and there's a chance for you to manufacture a run, you can't run yourself out of innings. To me, that's the thing I'm going to take away so far this year. And I'm going to tell you this, on the way home on that flight back from Toronto, I guarantee Showalter is not having a good time, and somebody's going to get the message in that locker room. Somebody's going to get worn out a little bit before that game, tips on Friday against the Red Sox, because that's a good thing about baseball is people talk about it all the time. You're going to come back the next day. You're going to have to face somebody the next day. The Jays are going down to face Tampa Bay, which, Tampa Bay doesn't have the great lineup, but they continue to throw new pitching out there all the time. Drew Smiley's having his first start against R.A. Dickey tomorrow, so the Jays are going to continue. Yep. So, and Smiley can be nasty, and that's the one thing. But the one thing is with the Jays, they're going to score. The Rays aren't. So, you probably got a pretty good matchup over the weekend there. But for the Orioles, for my point of view, Jake, they're going to have to start kind of cleaning it up, as your boy Adam Jones would say.
Well, I tell you what, I don't think that the Orioles are going to be much worse this season than they are right now. It's disappointing that it's happening in April. I think the expression goes that you can't win a championship in April, but you can really piss off your fan base.
Still not the way I remember that going, but okay.
No, that's not it. I will say that the Orioles are playing about as poorly as you can play right now, and they're not at 500, but they're not in a huge hole, especially in a month in which we're playing our entire division all stacked up on top of each other. It'd be nice to be winning more ball games, but they haven't dug themselves a hole that they can't climb out of.
Yep.
So it would be difficult for them to have an elongated period of time that they played worse.
Yeah.
So I guess my bottom line takeaway is that they can hang out and figure it out around 500 for a little while. That's probably a Pyrrhic victory in that. Reset for tomorrow's game. The Orioles come home and they play the Boston Red Sox. We just saw them last weekend. Some of us much closer than others.
Yes.
Miguel Gonzalez goes against Rick Porcello, and it should be interesting to see which starters show up. Both of them have had up and down seasons so far. And as Jab indicated, the Blue Jays head off to Tampa. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yes, sir.
All righty.
The House of Horrors, as we like to call it.
Well, I like to say it is the finest minor league baseball stadium in the league.
Hey, you won't get rained out.
Yeah, well, it took 3 years to win a series there. So
Oh, wow.
it's been, it is literally their House of Horrors. It's the worst away park for the Jays for some inexplicable reason, because it's exactly the same surface they play on at home. You would figure they'd have it figured out, but no.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I think maybe that the Rays pitching does it. I think that had a little bit more to do with it. Hey, by the way, we're going to see your Blue Jays back here at Camden Yards May 11th, 12th, and 13th. So these teams are going to get a couple weeks off from playing each other, and they'll heat it back up again coming back here to Baltimore. So hopefully we'll see where we're at that point, and hopefully we can have you on again on one of those shows there, and hopefully we can have a show where we can talk about our offense instead of how pathetic our team was in this series, huh?
I'm not sure about that, really.
I don't know. I would think that cranky podcasting is probably the most entertaining. All right. Well, with that, let's start getting out of here. Javi Burns, tell me a little bit about what's going on with you at Baltimore Sports Report this week.
Baltimore Sports today. We'll be sending out a podcast, the Red Sox series, on Friday. We'll have a preview. Me and Zach broke it down there. We'll have some writing over the weekend from some of our fantastic writers, unlike me, because I don't do any writing anymore because I'm terrible. But the rest of the guys are outstanding. And you can hit me up on @JabbyBurns on the old Twitters.
All right, Greg Wisniewski, again, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry for such a self-loathing performance here after an Orioles beatdown, but we're delighted to have you with us. Tell us a little bit about your site and the podcast this week.
So podcast should be out tomorrow morning. I'm still editing it, but it's not too late, so we should still be on schedule. We have an interview with an injury specialist on the podcast, as well as our usual kibitzing and chatter and all that jazz with Josh Howsam and myself. You can find that at BlueJaysPlus.com. You can follow Blue Jays Plus at Blue Jays Plus on Twitter. I'm at CoolHead2010. And the other guys can, come on some other show and do their own Twitter handles, because I can't remember right now, as it were. We try and cover the team day to day, so we do rotation review every time through the rotation, series previews, and then some more in-depth stuff in mechanics, and I do a little series called One at Bat, where I pick one at bat a week. I go down pitch by pitch and have some fun with that.
Nice.
So there's lots of content over there, and we're Sweet Spot affiliated with the ESPN network now, so should be able to find us one way or the other from the Sweet Spot.
Well, if I may be so bold, it's great content over there. I really enjoy both the podcast and the website. We found you guys maybe a year ago, and there's no better place to go look for Blue Jays coverage when you need some behind enemy lines coverage. So again, great work. Thanks for coming on with us. And I think that's about it for post game live on channel BSR. Orioles, here's another one.
I have a final thought. When was the last time you wished your team was playing like the Mets?
86?
1969. Thanks for bringing that up. 1969 is the last time. That's awesome.
I can find a sore spot with you in a heartbeat. It's wonderful.
It's a gift. It's a gift.
Yes.
Well, Greg, that's all the time we have. I'm sorry. For Greg Wisniewski of Blue Jays Plus, for Jabby Burns of Baltimore Sports Report, I'm Jake English. Birds lose 7-6 in a game that was never that close. We'll be back on Tuesday. Enjoy the games, everybody. Good night.